Welcome to the Snoozing Scientist. Let's relax to the story of elephants. Somewhere on the African savanna, beneath a sky still scattered with fading stars, a new life is about to begin. The air is cool, carrying the scent of damp earth and distant acacia trees. A small herd of elephants has gathered into a tight circle. The adults stand shoulder to shoulder, facing outward in every direction, their enormous bodies forming a living wall against the darkness. Lions are nearby. Hyenas may be watching from the tall grass. But for this moment, nothing is more important than what is happening in the center of the herd. After nearly 22 months of pregnancy, the longest of any land mammal, a mother elephant gives birth. The calf tumbles gently onto the ground, already weighing around 250 pounds. It is larger than most adult humans, yet compared to the giants surrounding it, it seems impossibly small. Its legs wobble beneath its weight as it struggles to understand gravity for the very first time. The world is filled with unfamiliar sounds, unfamiliar scents, and the soft rumble of voices unlike anything it has ever heard. Around it, something remarkable begins to happen. The other females move closer, not out of curiosity, but with purpose. They reach out with their trunks, gently touching the newborn's back, face, and tiny ears. These are not random movements. The trunk is one of the most sensitive organs in the animal kingdom, capable of detecting subtle textures, temperatures, and scents. In these first quiet moments, the family is quite literally introducing itself through touch. For many years, scientists assumed elephant herds were simply groups of related animals traveling together for protection. Today, we know they are something far more complex. They are families in almost every sense of the word. Mothers, daughters, sisters, aunts, grandmothers, and lifelong companions remain together for decades, sometimes for their entire lives. Every calf is raised not by one elephant, but by an entire community. Researchers even have a name for these helpers, alamothers. These are usually older sisters, cousins, or aunts who eagerly participate in caring for the newest member of the family. They help guide wandering calves back towards safety, stand guard while mothers rest, and gently encourage the young elephant to learn how to use its trunk. In many ways, these young females are practicing for motherhood themselves, gaining valuable experience years before they ever have calves of their own. Watching the scene unfold, it becomes difficult not to recognize something deeply familiar. The newborn is surrounded by individuals who have waited nearly 2 years for its arrival. Every member of the herd seems invested in its survival. It is not entering the world alone. It is being welcomed into a family. Within only an hour or two, the calf is already attempting its first uncertain steps. It stumbles often. Its oversized feet seem almost impossible to control, and its trunk behaves less like a useful tool and more like an unruly rope swinging unpredictably beneath its face. It tries to use the trunk to steady itself, only to accidentally step on it instead. Scientists have watched countless elephant calves trip over their own trunks during these early weeks, much like human infants fumbling with hands and feet they have only recently discovered. Learning to control a trunk is no simple task. An elephant's trunk contains no bones whatsoever. Instead, it is made almost entirely of muscle, an astonishing network of roughly 40,000 individual muscles and muscle bundles. For comparison, the entire human body contains only about 600 skeletal muscles. This extraordinary structure allows elephants to perform feats of strength and precision that seem almost impossible. The same trunk capable of uprooting a small tree can also delicately pick up a single blade of grass or gently brush a speck of dust from another elephant's eye. Yet none of that ability is present at birth. Like a child learning to write with unsteady hands, the calf must spend months discovering what its trunk can do. At first, it swings wildly. It accidentally tosses dirt onto its own face. It reaches for food and misses completely. Sometimes, when overwhelmed or seeking comfort, young elephants even place the tip of their trunks into their mouths, much the way human babies suck their thumbs. It is an unexpectedly tender behavior, one that reminds us that growing up is often awkward, regardless of whether you walk on 2 legs or 4. As the days pass, the family slowly resumes its journey across the landscape. To an outside observer, the elephants may appear to be wandering without direction, but this is far from random. Every step follows pathways remembered across generations. Waterholes that disappeared years ago, hidden springs that emerge only after seasonal rains, groves of fruiting trees that bloom for only a few weeks each year. These places exist within the memory of the herd's oldest female, like a map that has been quietly updated throughout an entire lifetime. Long before satellites or GPS existed, elephants had already mastered the art of navigation. And for this young calf, whose life has only just begun, every mile traveled beside its family is another lesson that will remain with it for decades to come. As the morning sun climbs higher, the world around the young elephant begins to awaken. Birds scatter from the treetops in noisy flocks, zebras graze across the open grasslands, and distant giraffes move almost silently between the acacia trees. To the calf, every sight is new. It reaches curiously toward fluttering butterflies, startles at the sudden leap of an impala, and investigates nearly everything it encounters. Like any young mammal, much of its understanding comes not through instruction, but through exploration. Play is not simply entertainment. It is education disguised as curiosity. Young elephants chase one another through the dust, gently wrestle with their trunks, and invent games that seem wonderfully familiar to anyone who has watched children at a playground. Scientists studying elephant behavior have long recognized that these playful interactions serve an important purpose. They strengthen muscles, improve coordination, establish friendships, and teach the complex social rules that will shape the rest of an elephant's life. Every playful shove and every exaggerated game of chase is quietly preparing them for challenges they cannot yet imagine. One afternoon, the calf wanders a little farther than it should. Perhaps it has become distracted by a flock of guinea fowl scratching through the grass, or perhaps an unusual scent drifting on the breeze has captured its attention. For a few brief moments, it is alone. The world suddenly feels much larger than it did only seconds before. Then, almost imperceptibly, a deep vibration rolls across the ground. No human nearby would hear it. In fact, most people would never even know it had happened. But the calf stops immediately. Its ears lift. Its body becomes still. Another low rumble follows, this one carried not only through the air but through the earth itself. Within moments, the calf turns and begins walking confidently back toward the herd. For many years, these mysterious exchanges puzzled scientists. Today, we know that elephants communicate using sounds far below the range of human hearing. These infrasonic calls are so low in frequency that they can travel several kilometers across open landscapes, bending around hills and passing through forests with surprisingly little loss of energy. Even more remarkable, elephants don't rely solely on their ears to detect them. Specialized receptors in their feet allow them to sense tiny vibrations traveling through the ground, effectively letting them listen with their entire bodies. Imagine standing barefoot on a wooden dock and feeling the faint vibration of an approaching boat long before it comes into view. Elephants experience something similar every day, except their conversations may originate miles away. A matriarch can quietly signal another family beyond the horizon. A distant herd may announce the discovery of water. A mother can reassure her wandering calf without ever raising her voice. The savanna, which seems silent to us, is alive with conversations we simply cannot hear. As weeks become months, the calf grows stronger, and with growing confidence comes growing independence. It begins feeding on grasses and leaves, though it will continue nursing for several years. Meals become lessons in themselves. The older elephants know exactly which plants provide the most nutrition during the dry season, which tree bark can be stripped away when food is scarce, and which fruits appear only for a few precious weeks each year. This knowledge is never written down. It is passed from one generation to the next simply by walking together. Researchers have often described elephant society as a living library. Every elderly female carries decades of accumulated experience inside her memory. She remembers droughts that occurred before the youngest elephants were born. She remembers rivers that flowed long ago, hidden waterholes that only fill after exceptional rains, and migration routes traveled countless times throughout her life. During severe droughts, studies have shown that herds led by older matriarchs are significantly more likely to survive. The oldest elephant is not merely respected because of her age. She is respected because she remembers. Perhaps nowhere is an elephant's extraordinary memory more apparent than in its ability to recognize others. In carefully controlled studies, researchers have played recorded calls from elephants that had been absent for years. Again and again, the herds responded differently depending on who was calling. Familiar voices produced excitement and calm reassurance. Unfamiliar voices often caused caution or defensive behavior. Some elephants have even recognized companions after separations lasting more than 20 years, a span longer than many human friendships endure. To an elephant, relationships are not fleeting. They are woven into the fabric of an entire lifetime. This deep social awareness extends beyond simple recognition. When members of a herd reunite after long separations, the greeting is impossible to mistake. They hurry toward one another with surprising speed, ears spread wide, trunks reaching eagerly forward. They intertwine trunks, gently touch one another's faces, and produce a chorus of excited rumbles that continue for several minutes. Observers often describe these reunions as joyful, and while scientists are careful not to assign human emotions too freely, they also acknowledge that the behavior closely resembles what we might call happiness. It is one of the recurring themes of elephant research. The deeper we study them, the more often we encounter behaviors that seem strikingly familiar. Not because elephants are trying to be like us, but because millions of years of social living have led two very different species to arrive at surprisingly similar ways of caring for family, building friendships, and navigating the emotional complexity of life together. As the years pass, the young elephant begins to notice something that no calf could appreciate before. The world is constantly changing. The rains arrive, turning dusty plains into fields of green almost overnight. Dry riverbeds awaken with flowing water, only to disappear again beneath the relentless African sun a few months later. Entire landscapes transform with the seasons, yet the herd rarely seems surprised by any of it. Long before clouds gather on the horizon, they have already begun moving toward places where fresh grass will soon emerge. When drought grips the land, they leave before the waterholes completely vanish. How do they know? For decades, scientists wondered the same thing. The answer appears to lie in a remarkable combination of memory, communication, and an ability to detect subtle environmental cues. Elephants possess one of the largest brains of any land animal, weighing around 5 kilograms, or roughly 11 pounds. Size alone does not determine intelligence, but certain regions of the elephant brain, particularly those involved in memory, emotion, and social processing, are exceptionally well developed. In many ways, an elephant's brain seems built for remembering relationships. Researchers have documented elephants recognizing not only dozens of individual family members, but also distinguishing between hundreds of different voices. They can identify whether another elephant belongs to their own family, a neighboring family, or an unfamiliar group simply by listening to a distant rumble. Even more impressively, they appear capable of recognizing the voices of individual humans. In one famous series of experiments, elephants living in Kenya learned to distinguish between different local communities based solely on spoken language and clothing. They reacted calmly to people who rarely posed a threat while becoming noticeably more cautious around groups historically associated with hunting. Without understanding a single word, they had learned which voices were likely to mean safety and which might signal danger. It is an extraordinary reminder that intelligence does not always look the way we expect. Sometimes it appears as mathematics. Sometimes it builds spacecraft. And sometimes it quietly remembers which footsteps can be trusted. One afternoon, as the herd pauses beside a broad watering hole, the younger elephants begin doing something that seems entirely unnecessary. They scoop trunkfuls of muddy water over their backs, coating themselves from head to tail before throwing loose dirt over the wet mud. To someone unfamiliar with elephants, it might look as though they simply enjoy getting dirty. In reality, they are applying one of nature's oldest forms of sunscreen. An elephant's skin may appear thick and nearly indestructible, but it is surprisingly sensitive. Although it can measure more than an inch thick in some places, the surface is covered with countless tiny cracks and wrinkles. These microscopic channels trap moisture after bathing, helping to keep the animal cool under the intense African sun. The layer of dried mud serves multiple purposes at once. It protects against ultraviolet radiation, discourages biting insects, and helps regulate body temperature throughout the hottest part of the day. Even the enormous ears that give African elephants their unmistakable silhouette are marvels of biological engineering. Running through each ear is a vast network of blood vessels lying just beneath the skin. As warm blood flows through these vessels, heat escapes into the surrounding air. By gently flapping their ears, elephants increase airflow across this natural radiator, allowing excess body heat to dissipate. On especially hot afternoons, researchers have measured significant drops in blood temperature after it passes through the ears. Nature, it seems, invented air conditioning millions of years before humans did. As evening approaches, the calf notices another curious habit. Several members of the herd suddenly stop walking. They remain perfectly still for a few moments, trunks raised high into the breeze. To human eyes, nothing appears unusual. But an elephant experiences the world through scent in ways that are almost impossible for us to imagine. Their sense of smell is considered one of the most powerful ever measured in a mammal. In fact, genetic studies suggest elephants possess more functional smell receptor genes than any other species examined so far, even more than bloodhounds, whose noses have become legendary. Long before they see distant rain, elephants may smell moisture carried on shifting winds. They detect water hidden beneath dry riverbeds, identify individual elephants from scent alone, and gather astonishing amounts of information simply by investigating footprints or fresh dung left behind by another herd. To an elephant, the landscape is filled with invisible messages. Every breeze carries news. Every scent tells a story. As the calf matures, it also begins to understand the quiet rituals that hold elephant society together. Greetings are rarely rushed. Two close companions may spend several minutes gently touching one another's mouths, cheeks, and trunks. These encounters reinforce social bonds much like hugs, handshakes, or warm embraces do among humans. Scientists have even observed elephants approaching distressed companions after frightening events, softly touching them with their trunks while emitting gentle vocalizations. This behavior, known as consolation, is surprisingly rare in the animal kingdom and is considered one of the hallmarks of highly social species. Perhaps the most remarkable thing about these moments is that they seem to serve no obvious survival purpose. The comforting touch does not produce food. It does not drive away predators. It does not strengthen muscles or improve hunting success. Instead, it appears to exist simply because one elephant recognizes that another is distressed and chooses to offer comfort. The more researchers learn about elephants, the more often they encounter behaviors that seem rooted not merely in intelligence, but in empathy itself. One evening, just as the golden light begins to fade across the savanna, the herd slows its pace. The air has become cooler, and the endless chorus of daytime insects is gradually giving way to the quieter sounds of the African night. A gentle breeze stirs the tall grasses, carrying scents from miles away. The younger elephants continue walking, unaware that something ahead has caused the matriarch to stop. She stands silently. Her trunk stretches forward, not searching for food, not searching for water, simply remembering. Half hidden beneath the grass lie the weathered remains of another elephant. Time has long since returned the body to the earth. Only a skull and a scattering of bones remain, bleached white by years beneath the African sun. The older female approaches slowly, almost cautiously, and reaches out with the tip of her trunk. She gently traces the curve of an old tusk before lingering there in complete silence. One by one, several members of the herd do the same. Scenes like this have fascinated scientists for decades. Elephants do not react this way to every skeleton they encounter. Again and again, researchers have observed them showing a unique interest in the remains of other elephants. They gently investigate skulls with their trunks, lift tusks from the ground, quietly stand nearby for several minutes, and sometimes return to these locations years later. What exactly they understand about death remains one of the great unanswered questions in animal behavior. Science cannot tell us whether elephants grieve in the same way humans do, nor should we assume that they experience loss exactly as we do. But whatever is happening in these quiet moments is clearly significant to them. Few other animals devote so much attention to the remains of their own kind. Perhaps that mystery is part of what makes elephants feel so familiar. The questions we ask about them are often the same questions we ask about ourselves. Can another animal remember those it has lost? Can it miss them? Can it feel the weight of absence? While science cannot answer every one of these questions, it continues uncovering evidence that elephants possess emotional lives far richer than anyone once imagined. This becomes especially clear when danger strikes. On another day, the herd is crossing an open plain when a sudden crack echoes across the landscape. Every elephant freezes. Within a heartbeat, the calves disappear from view, not because they have run away, but because the adults have instinctively surrounded them. Mothers, aunts, and older sisters close ranks, placing the youngest elephants safely in the center while the largest adults face outward toward the unknown threat. It is a defensive formation that has evolved over millions of years, and it happens so quickly that it appears almost rehearsed. Remarkably, no single elephant gives an obvious command. There is no leader shouting instructions. No confusion. Each member simply understands its role. Researchers studying elephant societies often describe them as possessing collective intelligence. Decisions are rarely made by force. Instead, individuals communicate continuously through rumbles, body posture, ear position, scent, and touch until the herd gradually moves together as one. It is less like following orders and more like dozens of experienced voices quietly arriving at the same conclusion. This cooperation becomes even more impressive during difficult years. When drought settles across the savanna, survival depends not on strength but on knowledge. Older matriarchs remember rivers that have not flowed in decades. They recall hidden springs buried beneath dry sand and ancient migration routes leading toward distant wetlands. Young elephants have never seen these places before, yet they follow without hesitation because the oldest members of the herd have survived hardships long enough to know where hope can still be found. There is something profoundly human about that image. A family enduring uncertainty not because every member knows the answer, but because someone older remembers a time when they faced something similar before. Scientists have repeatedly found that herds led by experienced matriarchs survive severe droughts at significantly higher rates than those led by younger females. Experience, accumulated patiently over half a century, becomes one of the herd's greatest survival tools. And elephants live long enough to gather an extraordinary amount of experience. In the wild, many live 60 to 70 years. Some individuals have spent more time walking the African landscape than entire human generations. During those decades, they witness changing climates, shifting river systems, the births of dozens of calves, and the quiet passing of lifelong companions. Every year adds another layer to an already remarkable memory. Yet despite their immense size and impressive intelligence, elephants remain surprisingly gentle most of the time. Researchers have watched calves carefully rescue birds trapped in watering holes, adults patiently waiting for injured herd members to catch up, and mothers slowing their pace to match the tiny, uncertain steps of newborn calves. Even during long migrations stretching hundreds of miles, the pace of the entire family is determined by its smallest member. No one is left behind. Perhaps that is one of the most beautiful lessons elephants have to offer. For them, strength has never meant moving the fastest. It has meant moving together. And so, as our journey slowly comes to an end, the sun sinks below the African horizon. The golden light fades into soft shades of amber, then violet, and finally into the deep blue of approaching night. One by one, the sounds of the day begin to disappear. Birds settle into the trees. The insects grow quieter. Even the wind seems to slow as darkness gently spreads across the savanna. In the distance, the elephant herd continues its patient walk. There is no hurry. There never has been. The youngest calves remain close to their mothers, their small feet leaving fresh footprints beside tracks that have crossed these plains for countless generations. Older siblings wander nearby, occasionally reaching out with their trunks to reassure an anxious youngster or invite another playful game before sleep. Around them, the adults maintain their quiet watch, always aware of one another, always listening to conversations carried on sounds too deep for our ears to hear. Leading them all is the matriarch. She is no longer the fastest. She is not the strongest. But she remembers. She remembers the rivers that vanished decades ago. She remembers the seasons when the rains arrived late. She remembers hidden watering holes beyond distant hills, safe places beneath familiar trees, and paths first walked when she herself was only a curious calf. Her greatest gift to the family is not her size. It is her memory. As long as she walks beside them, the knowledge of an entire lifetime walks with her. Perhaps that is one of the quietest lessons elephants offer us. In the natural world, wisdom is not measured by how much an individual can accomplish alone. It is measured by how much they can pass on to those who follow. Every generation begins where the last one left off. Every journey becomes a little easier because someone else has already walked the path before. There is something comforting in that thought. For all of our differences, elephants remind us that the things which matter most are often remarkably simple. To belong. To be remembered. To protect those who cannot yet protect themselves. To comfort a friend who is afraid. To celebrate joyful reunions. To mourn those who are gone. To carry the past gently forward while making room for the future. Science has given us extraordinary insight into the lives of elephants. We know how their trunks work, how their brains process memories, how they communicate across miles using sounds beneath our hearing, and how their remarkable societies have evolved over millions of years. But perhaps the greatest discovery has not been about elephants at all. It has been about empathy. The more carefully we study these gentle giants, the more often we find reflections of ourselves. Not because elephants are trying to become human, but because love, cooperation, curiosity, patience, and family are not uniquely human qualities. They are ancient threads woven deeply into the story of life itself. Tonight, somewhere beneath the same stars that shine above your home, an elephant family is still walking. A newborn calf is discovering how to use its trunk for the first time. A playful youngster is chasing its older siblings through the dust. A mother is gently reassuring her child with a quiet touch. An old matriarch is leading her family toward water she has not visited in many years but somehow still remembers. The journey never truly ends. It simply continues, one slow step after another, just as it has for millions of years. Long after we fall asleep tonight, they will still be moving across the moonlit grasslands, following invisible paths known only to memory, guided by bonds that have grown stronger with every generation. And perhaps that is the true beauty of elephants. They remind us that the strongest lives are rarely the loudest. Real strength can be gentle, patient, compassionate. It can be found in quiet guidance instead of command, in shared experience instead of competition, and in choosing to stay together when the road ahead is uncertain. As you begin to settle a little deeper into your chair, or beneath your blanket, allow your thoughts to wander to that peaceful herd disappearing into the darkness. Imagine the soft rhythm of their footsteps, the distant rumble of voices carried through the earth, the endless African sky stretching overhead, filled with stars that have watched countless generations make this same timeless journey. Thank you for joining me on this quiet walk through the remarkable lives of elephants. I hope these gentle giants have left you with a greater appreciation not only for the natural world, but for the invisible connections that unite all living things. Until our next adventure together, sleep well, stay curious, and the next time you see an elephant, whether in a photograph, a documentary, or perhaps one day in the wild, remember that behind those thoughtful eyes is a lifetime of memories, friendships, and stories still waiting to be told. Good night.